Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. You know, since I did the video on the universal test card, I've had a lot of people that are new to engraving that just can't figure out where to get started with it. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the test card that you can do with any laser in Lightburn, and I'm also going to show you how you match that to get your starting numbers, that seems to be the biggest problem. Well, where do I start? How do I set my power and how do I set my speed? Well, stay right there because I'm going to show you how to do this fast and easy. Alright, so now in version 1.2, if you look up here, of Lightburn, if you have the latest version of Lightburn, you're going to find something new up here called Laser Tools. And in this Laser Tools menu here, you're going to have something called the Material Test. And I understand that the Universal Test Card is more for advanced users, so I decided that I needed to make a basic video and show you how to use this Material Test. Now you can use the Universal Test Card using the same principles as this, but I'm just going to show you with the Material Test for today, being that I've never covered this before. So we'll click on Material Test and that'll open up a new window, a generator in Lightburn. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Save button here and I'm going to call this Demo. So I'll say Demo and say OK. So now we have a category called Demo, and you can do any type of presets in here that you want. You just save them one after the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an engraving test. Over here are your rows. How many rows do you want? How many columns do you want? So let's do a full engraving test. Let's do 10 rows and let's do 10 columns. And let's start our engraving speed where? Okay, so that's the question. Where do we start? Where do we start our minimum and maximum powers? Here's where we answer the question. Let's close this for now. Now over here I have, and yours might be up here, you may not even have one on your screen, a tab called Library. If you don't have this tab, you can right click on the header of any of these boxes here and then just come over to where it says Library and put a check mark next to the box that says Library, and then it will appear on your screen. If you still don't see it on your screen, you can also do it from up here. You can click on the word Window and then come down here to where it says Library right here, and just put a check mark in next. If there's no check mark, just check it, and then you'll see the actual window appear over on this side, probably up on the top in your case. But you need to have a library to load in the first place. Now I've got in the shop next door, I've got the ComGrow 10 watt loaded here, and this library is going to give me all of the basic requirements for the ComGrow. So for instance, right now on here I've got some 5mm 3-ply plywood. So I'm going to come down here to plywood. I'm going to come down to the closest thing I got is 4mm, and we're going to do a cut. We're also going to do an engrave test as well on plywood. So let's do the engrave one first, and let's take a look at what the manufacturer's suggested speed and power is. So if I click on Edit Cut, I'm not going to change anything. I just want to see what it is. And it says 5,000 speed, 100% power, in fill mode, 2.5% overscan. You're not going to need that if you have a CO2. You don't need any overscan. It's pretty much just for diodes. And a 318 LPI. Now that's assuming that this laser module, it has a 0.08 focal spot. And it does. It's 0.08 by 0.08. Now to confirm all of this, we're going to head over to ComGrow's website and we're going to look up the Z1 10 watt right here. And we're going to just come down here and look at the features. We're going to come all the way down to the specs. And any manufacturer you buy from is going to have specifications. They're going to have suggested cuts. So here we are. So here are the product parameters. And in here you'll see that if we come down here to the 10 watt right over here, 0.08 by 0.08 millimeters. So we know that that LPI is right. And then if we come down a little bit further, you're going to have some reference point for your parameters. Now I've gone ahead and I've transferred all of these parameters into the library, and I've created a CLW file that Lightburn can use where you don't have to refer back to the chart every single time. So in here you'll see that for the engraving on plywood, it is S100 is a Gerbil term that means 100% power, 5,000 millimeters per minute. And you can get all of this information from their website, from any manufacturer's website usually. So let's close that, and you'll see that's what we have, 0.080, 0.08. So that's a 318 LPI dot size, which is a very good one. So now we know that this information is correct, 5,100, and that is the recommended starting point for engraving. So forgetting about this over here, now you can get these libraries for most any type laser on my forum, lahobbyguy.com, and I'll put a link below down in the description where you can go. If you're a member, you have to become a member, and membership is free. A new category opens up to members when they log in called Member Only Files and Downloads. And in there, you'll find cut library for Lightburn. And you'll find the cut libraries for diode lasers. You'll also find them for the CO2 lasers. Match the power that you have. In this case, it's 10 watt, and this happens to come from ComGrow. So I've got 10 watt. You're going to download that library, and then you're going to come over here on your library tab and load it into Lightburn. Now I do have another video on that. I'll put that video on libraries down in the description as well. But for now, we're just going to use the manufacturer's suggested, which is 5,100. Okay, so let's come back to the laser tools and the material test. Now we're going to do 10 rows. The speed, minimum speed, we're not going to trust their recommendation of, and actually let's do 5 rows. I think 5 rows is going to be enough. So we're going to do 5 rows. We're going to start the speed at, let's start it at 4,000 instead of 5,000. Let's put the maximum speed up to, say, I don't know, 7,000. So 5,000 is somewhere in the middle there. We're going to do 5 millimeter squares, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Now the columns, we'll do 5 columns, and this side is going to be power. The minimum power that we're going to use, they're saying 100 is the recommended. So what power do you feel comfortable using? Do you not like using 100% power? Because you can set these both to the same thing if you wanted to. You could set it to 100 and 100. Let's go ahead and set it to 50 to 100% power. And that makes sense to me. So now it will draw 5 by 5 squares that will run from 4,000 to 7,000 millimeters per minute, and they will run between 50 and 100% power. And we're all set here. And then we can also, I did forget to name this one demo, but we've already got it set up, so we'll leave it alone. So let's go to preview, and here's what we get. So it's going to show us the whole preview here. Now, this doesn't look right. Did you notice that? It's in line mode. That's not what we want. We want to check the engraving on this. So we're going to come over here to edit material setting. We're going to change this from line to fill, and that will be an engraving. Okay, now you notice the line interval changed, so we're going to take our lines per inch. Actually, we're going to do it up here, 0.08, and that will give us 317.5, and that should be fine. If we come back to the preview, that is what we're looking for. So this is what's going to burn onto our material, and now we will get a result from 4,000, 4,750, 5,500, all the way up to 7,000 speed, one pass. and it will be anywhere from 50% power to 100% power. If I go all the way, see, there we go. 50, 62.5, 75, 85, and we should have a nice grid here. And this will give us an idea of what to look for. How dark do you want your engraving? You're going to pick a block on here. Do you want it really dark way down here, or do you want it lighter? Or what shade of gray all throughout here would you prefer to run this job at? And that's pretty much what this test is. We're all set now. We're going to say okay to that. We're ready to run this job. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come over to the, let me arrange this a little bit better. I'll put this here. I'll bring the camera out. Oh, I can't bring the camera out. Okay, because I've already got this one up. So that's okay. No problem. We've got the camera over here. I'll zoom in on it instead. And you'll see I've got the ComGrow set up with the 10-watt laser on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to home the laser first, because that's, and I can't do any of that with this open. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this preset as demo, like that, and say okay. And now we're all set. We've already saved that. So let's close that, do what I really wanted to do. Let's bring this out, the camera out to here. Let's bring it up just a little bit. Actually, it looks like it's in the right place, but what I want to do is I want to home it first. So I'm going to click home just to make sure that we're going to be in the right spot. And then I'll come over here to the map icon on the left. I'll click on that icon and I'll click about where I think I want it to go. And I think that's probably pretty close to where I want it. And let's see what we get. And that looks pretty good. Let me move it up just a little bit more. And let me look at my current position. Bottom left is going to be the start from. And I am now ready to bring my laser tool material test back up. Now we can move this out of the way. Go ahead and pick the preset, which was demo. And it looks like it did not save it. Oh, here it is down here. Okay, there we go. So now we have our 5 rows, our 5 columns, our speed, our power is all set, and we're actually ready to run this test. We're going to preview it one more time, and that is exactly what we're looking for. And I'm going to hit the start button. And there it goes. So again, this is very simple to set up. Now this is going to take some time. So what I'll do is I will put this into a fast forward, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at the results, and then we'll do the line test. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do the engraving, which is happening right now, and then we're going to move to the left of that, and we're going to do the actual cut test on this 5mm plywood and see how that comes out. So now I'm going to speed this video up, let it run through this job, and then we'll set up the next job. Alright, so that engraving is all finished now, and I know this can seem like it takes a long time to get through, but it really doesn't. It's really very quick. So this time we're going to do the cut test this time. So I'm going to come down here to my library, and if you don't have the library and you don't want to go download it for Lightburn, which I don't see why you wouldn't want to, but just go to your manufacturer's website, or on the USB stick that comes with your laser, you'll find usually user instructions, and in there you'll find cutting and engraving parameters. But I'm going to come down here to the 7mm cut, and I'm going to edit it just to look at it, and I'm going to see that the speed should be 100% power and 100 millimeters per minute, excuse me, and 90% power. Okay, so that is the manufacturer's suggested settings for cutting 7mm. So we're just going to remember that 100 speed, 90% power. And what we're going to do, let me show you how quickly this is done now. We're going to come in here to the material test. We're going to do let's do 5 rows, and we're going to do Minimum speed, we're going to go from 80. We're not going to trust there, 100. We're going to maximum speed. We're going to max this out at, we're going to say 130. So that'll give us a good range and speed. And then we're going to do 5 rows. And the power, we're going to go from, let's go from 80 to 100% power. And let's do the same 5 by 5. Let's do 8 millimeter because we're cutting here. So the 5 millimeters won't drop out easy. I'd rather put it up a little higher, 8 or 10 millimeters. So we will make an 8 by 8 millimeter square. It will run from anywhere from 80 to 130 speed. It will run 5 rows, 5 columns with the power of 80 to 100. And actually we could make this, if you only use 100% for power like I do, well, then I would make this 100% power, just like that. Now, if we preview it, you'll see that that's not right because that's in filled mode. So we're going to edit the material settings. We're going to change this to line mode, and that's all we need to do. 1 pass in line mode. And we're going to say OK. So now if we preview it, this is what we've got. 100% power. We're going to run it at 80 speed, 93, 105, 118, and 130. And actually, let's change the power because this doesn't make sense. We would only really need 1 column, right? So let's do 5 columns, and let's do the minimum at 50. Yeah, 50 to 100. That looks good. And preview that. So now we'll have 50, 62.5, 75, 87.5, and 100. And I would only expect that it's going to cut through a few of these. But anyway, this is going to give us a good pattern to work with. So now the next thing we need to do, and I forgot, we're going to call it demo cut, like that. Say OK, because I have to close this. I always home my laser before I start any job. So I'm going to go ahead and home it, and then I'm going to move it to somewhere about where, I have to click the move the move button. Somewhere to about where I think we want to start this job. And I'm thinking that looks pretty good. Let's move it up just a little bit. Let's move it up right about there. Maybe a little more to the left. And that looks pretty good right there. And we are in current position, bottom left, so it will start right there and work its way up. And we are now ready to come back to the laser tools, material test, and let's go find that last one we just did, demo cut. So now we have 5 rows, 5 columns, and we're ready to go. Check a preview one more time and move this out of the way. And that's how quick it is to set up, and I could probably do this, 3 times faster if I weren't trying to narrate my way through it. So we'll just go ahead and hit the start button like that, and we'll let it do its thing. And again, I am going to, the air assist is on, by the way, if you're wondering, and so is the smoke extraction over here. So it's going to get some of the smoke, not all of it. I should have really brought it over a lot closer. But this is in the shop next door, so I'm really not too worried about it. And we should be good to go. I'll go ahead and speed this up, and then we'll get into the final results. All right, so we're all finished. I went and got the wood off of the laser, and this is what we get. So here is my really crappy photograph. I don't know why I can't get good photograph. Look, it looks like it's bent over here, and you can't see the colors. But anyway, as far as the engraving goes, I think that 75%, 7,000 speed came out just awesome on this 5mm Baltic birch. I think that's just an awesome speed. And you know what I forgot? It's 5mm. We did it with the 7mm cut library. So we could have cut, it just blew through most of this. Look at this, 50% power and 93 speed. And it just blew right through it. So 105 speed, 62% power. So we could have actually started our speed at the 150 mark on this, which is really awesome, by the way, for a 10 watt laser. Now this happens to be a good laser, the Comgrow 10 watt. Out of all the 10 watts on the market, it is the most powerful in an actual light beam test. In fact, it's even 1 watt more powerful than the X-Tool 10 watt, which is kind of surprising. Now, I do want to show you, this is not a good representation over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the camera here, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. This 75% power and 7,000. Look at the beautiful color that it got there. The color is just awesome on this particular wood. And this is what these test cards are used for. You get to know exactly the color that you want your burn to look like on that particular piece of wood. You get to pick and choose from a grid so that there's no mistakes when you go and burn. Now you're going to sacrifice a piece of wood, no doubt. But that's what lasering is all about if you want professional look. So you're going to sacrifice that piece of wood. There's no doubt about it. But you're going to get the exact color or shade of gray that you want by running these tests. You have one sacrificial piece of wood, one small piece of wood. Let's say you're going to do an engraving. You just need like a 4x4 piece of wood to sacrifice. And you go and pick and choose the color of that engraving that you want. And now you can even get into layers. And this is the fun part, because you can have some of the engraving, like a graphic, a vector graphic, for example. You can have some layers done in a really light engraving, other layers done in a dark engraving, and you can get dimensional looks out of your work. So there is your material test generator built into Lightburn for newbies that have never done this before and are confused about the universal test card video that I did. Now I'll put a link, or actually at the end of this video, I'm going to put one of the links at the end of the video. You'll see the universal test card video, so you can go ahead and click on that. And I'll also put a link down below in the description if you want to watch that one next. That's much more advanced. It gives you a lot of different settings than this does. But this is your basic test card, and you could work with this forever. All you have to do is set up your rows, set up your columns with your speed and your power. And there's even more in here. You can do line interval and other things. Line interval tests and so on. So it's a really nice feature in Lightburn. It only takes a minute to set up, and I know that sometimes the videos get a little confusing because I have to go off topic a little bit. It's not really going off topic, but like saying you got to go to the manufacturer's website and get your parameters for different types of materials. But I mean, that's just necessary. If you want to do this for a business, if you want to have professional results, you're not just burning some mom on a piece of wood. You want to really have some professional results for your engravings, using graphics, using vector graphics. With this, You can get different shades of gray, many different shades of gray, and you can design your vector graphics with all different shades to burn onto the wood that will look absolutely awesome. And I've done that with my Christmas Santa cutting board. So, you know, all of the different graphics are different shades of gray, and it gives it a nice sort of colorized look. So, doing a test grid, and you know, lots of people ask questions in the Facebook groups, in the forum, you know, how do I get my settings down? The only way to get your settings down is with a test grid. Your laser is not going to be the same as mine. It's not going to be the same as the next one that ran off the assembly line. There are so many different variables involved, especially when it comes to wood. You have the ambient temperature, you have the moisture content of the wood, you have the manufacturer of the wood, how they manufacture it. If it's plywood, you know, what are the how thick are the veneers? What is the fill made of? What type of glue do they use? There's so many different variables that you can never say. I can't say to you, I can cut plywood, you know, at 200 millimeters per minute and 80% power, 5 millimeter plywood. Doesn't mean that you can, because there are too many variables involved. So that's what this material test generator is for. And to go even further, you can move on to the universal test card if you want to do things like living hinges and stuff like that. So anyway, without getting too far off topic now, I hope that this has opened your eyes. If you're new to laser engraving, I understand the universal test card video may have been a little confusing, so I wanted to elaborate on this basic material test card generator built into Lightburn and show you exactly how to use it, exactly how to get your starting numbers, and how to set it up so that you can run your own tests. And I'm hoping that I'm going to make you into a professional laserologist. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.